fantasy?
Film.
Fight! What'd you fucking say?
Fantasy.
Film fight.
I still don't get it.
Fantasy.
Fight!
We take the pick of the litter.
We take it in turns.
Someone just gotta go first.
And then
The next person.
they just go round and round.
That's what.
We call it
Fantasy.
fight. You win some, you lose some.
Anything can happen.
So,
Who are you going with?
who you picking?
Today.
Fantasy.
Film.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 63 of Fantasy Film Fights, the show where we take a random film topic and we draft it fantasy style. On today's episode, it is going to be an interesting one because we are drafting movies that don't stick the landing. Any movie that our panelists think didn't quite bring it home in the end is up for grabs as long as they can explain it. And it's going to be fantastic. Cannot wait to see what they came up with. But with me, as always, right beside me, my co-host, Mr. Tony Hill. Tony, how goes it?
It's going well. It's been an interesting day. So my kettle broke earlier today,
Okay.
which that sounds like that's an annoying thing for British people. That's like losing a limb. I drink about 7 cups of tea a day, so I spent most of the day. So I went, I'll go on Amazon quickly, just find one, but like one cheap one. I spent 3 hours looking for the perfect kettle. I need help. Also, coffee.com/feature presentation. Please go buy it because there's one that's 80 quid and I really want it. It keeps the water at the same temperature the entire time it's boiled. So, coffee.com.
Yeah, I could have told you need help long before I heard that story, but I digress. We've got one panelist who's on the way. Hopefully they will get here before we get ready to roll, but let me introduce the rest of them who were here on time. Starting off with a member of the family for one of the new rookies in the Schmodown who's going to be a dominant player in the future, my man, Mr. Jacoby Bancroft. How you doing, Jacoby?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Always a blast to be with you guys and to draft these movies. And I'm excited for the topics today and to see what everyone picked. It's gonna be a ball.
Yep, I agree. And we go down below me. Joining us once again, Mr. Joseph Olivas. Joseph, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm very interested about what's going to happen, but also very nervous about what's going to happen because I came up with a list of movies that I could make statements on why I didn't personally like them as the endings. Mm-hmm. And I know there are a couple of other movies that I love, but I know there are a lot of people who don't like the endings that I am pretty sure will be picked. So It's going to be like I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Indeed, we'll definitely see what happens. And next up, also returning guest, Mr. Richard Schwartz, who's probably trying to divide his time between watching the Dodgers game and participating in this. But how you doing, bud?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm always happy to be here. This has probably become one of my favorite shows to watch and be a part of. And I love this topic because it can be up to its imagination. And I'm excited to hear what everyone else has picked.
Yep. I'm excited too. And then Richie Goodacre should be on the way momentarily. Hopefully he will join us soon. I guess we're going to have to try to figure out draft order before he gets here. Tony, how we go about doing that?
Absolutely. So Peggy's got a question. She's been thinking really long and hard about this all week. She's been preparing this question. She did not forget about it 5 minutes before the show.
Nope.
So she's got a question with numerical answer. We're going to guess it. Whoever gets closest to the pin gets to pick the order, who goes first, who goes last, and who takes it in the rear.
So yes, I spent all week just thinking what would be the best question to give you. It wasn't anything like 5 minutes before we went live, like, oh shit, I forgot to come up with the question. So we are going back to the handy dandy Dazed and Confused book that I have handy. You gentlemen are just gonna have to pick a number that I've turned the book page to. Make it an odd number, please, because that's the number we're going with for the page number. And I just opened the book. Write down a number between 1 and 441, closest to the page I turned to. And I'm trying not to show you
how deep, how far.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to make sure that doesn't get shown.
Okay.
So whilst everyone's picking their numbers, just quickly, I'm just going to say this out front. Spoiler warnings. We'll try and be careful if the movie came out like 2 weeks ago. But this conversation probably won't work really well if we're going, this film, yeah. We can't really talk about the ending.
I don't want to talk about the ending, but just trust me, it missed the mark.
Yeah.
So I missed the question. Can I hear it again? Sorry, please.
Pick an even number
No, odd.
Odd. Any odd number between 1 and 441. And whoever gets closest to the page number that I open this book to on this side of the book.
Oh God, I think I'm way. Oh my God, I think I'm way off.
Did I lean it? Oh no! Hey, just in time, buddy.
Made it.
Yeah,
How you doing, Richie?
not too bad. What do we do? So, yeah, what did I miss?
Well, we just got to the part where we're gonna pick draft order. You got your whiteboard or something to write with handy?
I'll just pick a number off the top of your head.
Yeah.
All right. Pick any odd number between 1 and 441.
Okay.
All right, switching hands so I can get my hand that I write with ready.
Peggy's looking at her book, so she's not paying attention, but...
Yes, thank you guys for liking the intro. I spent a lot of time working on that.
He did.
Just trying to make Nerd Chronic proud. All right, everyone got a number?
Yeah.
All right, we'll start with Jacoby and go clockwise. Jacoby, what'd you write?
I said 97.
97. All right, Joseph.
I think I'm way off. I said 363.
363. Richard.
I said 211.
211. Richie.
I also said 211.
Holy shit! Really?
You say 11?
Yeah, 211, yeah.
211.
Oh.
Okay, and then Tony?
I went 341.
341. Well, the gentlemen who both picked 211, you were closest at 227. So guess what? Between the two of you, I'm just going to pick another random page, and then we're just going to do it again. All right, go.
Just shout the number out. We don't need...
Yeah, you don't need to write it down. We'll start with Richard. What you think?
211. Why not?
Why not? Richie?
96.
Sorry, you broke up?
Huh?
Yeah, you're back.
I don't know.
Choose a number.
Yeah. 225.
Well, 225 wins because I turned it to page 297. So, Richie, your prize for being the last to join is the one you get to be the one who set the draft order. Who's going first? Who's going last? What you think?
Yeah. I'll go first. Then Kobe.
Okay.
Then I'll go to Joseph.
Joseph?
And is it you or Tony?
Oh, it's Tony, and then between Tony and Richard.
I'll go Tony, then Richard.
Okay.
Okay, so just confirm the order. So it's Richie, Jacoby, Joseph, Tony, Richard.
That's
I'm not fourth. Yeah.
I do like how we kept the names close.
Yeah, I kept Richie and Richard apart so we can kind of keep track of who we're actually addressing if we happen to break up. Oh, and I have a dog staying with me for the week who likes to bark at noises in the hallway, so I apologize in advance to everyone watching. Should that happen, I'll try to mute myself very, very quickly. But let's get this show on the road. Richie, you are officially up. What movie out of all the movies out there do you think did not stick the landing? What's your first overall pick?
Well, I'm going to go with a movie that, up until the ending. Be a basic pick, but I'm going to go with M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. This is the ending. The aliens are afraid of water. They're inhabiting a planet that is full of water, and yeah, it just sort of let me fall flat. I thought overall, I think that it mars the film actually, because I think people forget but before that happens, it's actually a decent movie. I think we like to sort of write up in much time. He wasn't, hadn't been good at that point. But I think this movie is actually pretty good up until that point. So yeah, Signs.
All right, Signs is the first one off the board. I guess it felt wrong not to swing for Richie. Anyone get that?
Heyo.
Now I'm just curious. Did anybody else here have that on their list?
I didn't have it on my list, but I did figure that somebody would bring it up because I often hear about this movie being a movie that doesn't stick to the landing.
Mm-hmm.
I agree because up to that point, I just think that that moment, I agree. I think it's a good movie up to a certain point, to like the water stuff and the swing stuff. Like when the alien first comes out at like the at that birthday party scene, like traumatized me as a kid. Like that was super scary.
Move, children, vamonos.
Yeah, everything with the corn stuff. So you're right, and then just the ending was just like you watch, it's like that's it. That's what it does. Okay, sure. M. Night Shyamalan, you do you.
I did not have it on my list because I actually did not mind the ending compared to some other of his other movies.
Fair. That's fair.
M. Night Shyamalan feels like he could just make up this list entirely.
No.
Just like what?
Joseph's staunch defender. No.
Joseph is the lead member of the Shyamalan of Ding Dongs, the fan group of the M. Night Shyamalan. No, but it's sort of like you have to respect what Shyamalan does as a director of like and a writer of like going for those big swings, like these twists in the tale, and it's just like, mate, but sometimes just like just tell a story, M. Night, please. Does that have to have a surprise ending? Nobody needs to be secretly a cat. Just tell a story.
Fair enough. All right, so Richie takes the movie Signs with the first overall draft pick. Over to Jacoby. What are you thinking, bud?
It's super interesting that he chose an M. Night Shyamalan movie because I'm also choosing an M. Night Shyamalan movie for my first pick that I knew it just had to be. But this one doesn't really end kind of with a twist. This one is just a horrible ending on top of an absolutely abysmal movie because it's an adaptation of one of the greatest TV shows of all time. Avatar: The Last Airbender is a fantastic show, and its first season is amazing. His adaptation of it, complete garbage. It ruins it from like the moment it starts up until the very end. And you would think just when it can't get any worse, when that movie is just going to be continuing to suck and be awful, they change a very core component of the show, which is instead of Aang fighting off the Fire Nation, going into the Avatar state, turning into a giant fish monster and unleashing his rage really for like the first time and destroying anything, he changes that so all he does is lift up a wave and then the Fire Nation turns around and goes away. It is just the most ridiculous ending and a complete slap in the face. So that's why this was my top pick, because it's not only a horrible ending, it spits in the face of the ending of the original show of it had such an easy path to adapt. So that's why that's my number one pick. And I knew that was going to be my number one pick. Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad it was there for you to put onto your squad. I have never seen this one. Has anyone else in the panel seen this movie?
I have seen it, and
I have too. Yeah.
I'm going to say I don't think it's as bad as everyone claims. I think the people who have seen the show, yeah, it's absolutely horrible. But if you have never seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, it's not as bad. Like, it's not as bad as Dragon Ball Evolution. Dragon Ball Evolution is a terrible movie, even though it's based on the anime Dragon Ball, and it's a terrible movie if you have never seen Dragon Ball at all. Avatar, at least, like, if you've never seen Avatar: Last Airbender, it's not as bad. Like, yeah, sure, like, some of the acting's really horrible, but, like, the effects of it's really cool. And I just don't think it's as bad as everyone says.
Yeah, that's fair.
I can actually agree with that, because I saw that before the TV series. Sorry to the fans of it, because I did think the trailer looked kind of interesting, and I saw it, I was like, oh, that was kind of disappointing, but it does look worse when you compare it to the show.
I mean, at least M. Night Shyamalan tried compared to, like, at least there was, like, appropriate age casting, not race casting, obviously, but at least appropriate age casting, and at least, if you're not a fan of The Last Airbender, it's not as bad.
Yeah, I like, you know, I didn't think it was a great movie, but I didn't think it was as bad as people said it was, but then Avatar, and like, okay, now
yeah, that's what I was laughing at.
It did, and that's why I chose it, because it missed it all the way up to the point. Just like, okay, it can't get any worse up to this point, and then it just totally dropped the ball. Even more so, it dropped below my standards. You are all wrong. This movie is awful, and this is trash.
I mean, I don't like it either. I'm just saying, if you've never seen the anime, it's not as bad.
Makes it just a little bit better. Gotcha. I feel you. All right, so Avatar: The Last Airbender, the first to join Jacoby's squad. Joseph, where are you going? What you thinking?
Okay, so this is an interesting movie. This movie, when I saw it for the first time, I didn't mind the ending. or at least I didn't understand why people didn't like the ending. It's a movie that people had very high expectations for when it first came out, and a lot of people were very disappointed by it. As I grew older, I still didn't hate it as much, but because there are some people that I know who really hate it. I still don't. But growing up later and seeing how it followed the rest of the series, it now I can see and understand more and more how people understand how people see that Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls ending is a very out of place ending when compared to the rest of the franchise. Like when I was young, it was just another Indiana Jones movie, so I was like excited to see it, but seeing it older, like as an older person growing up, it's like, okay, yeah, it's a movie that blends two genres completely, that blends a sci-fi genre with the aliens to a completely different genre with the adventure, but also set in reality, kind of with Nazis for the past movies, but also Mola Ram and the Thuggies and Temple of Doom. It's like completely random, but it doesn't really fit well with the rest of the series. So that's my pick.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even accept that it was ever made, created, and it's not part of the canon, if you will, of Indiana Jones. So, I mean, that's a fair pick. Now, here's the thing. Oh,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh,
it's your pick.
Because, and I did want to pick this because I also think that this movie was fairly entertaining for the most part. Like, sure, it's not going to be as great as the trilogy because it's following up with an iconic trilogy that expectations for it were kind of unfairly high in a way, and the action was still kind of entertaining. Harrison Ford is still kind of like entertaining and as back as Indiana Jones, but the ending just fell off with it.
Yeah, this was on my list. It was probably my number 2 pick. I disagree. Harrison Ford did not look like he was having fun in this movie at all. The aliens thing to me reminded me of the ending of Bolt, where they brought back the TV shows like aliens. And Shia LaBeouf was not good in this, so it's a good pick for you. Very good pick. It's not a good movie at all.
And then Rhino says in Bolt, that is totally unrealistic.
Yeah. And also, you can't. Their whole refrigerator, their atomic bomb, was terrible.
Yeah.
That is fair. Yes.
Well, I think the reason why so many people were disappointed is because it waited so long to make a 4th one, and you thought, like, okay, if they waited this long, they're actually got a green light for this. It's gonna be epic. It's got to have a great script to it. It's gonna be a great storyline, and then a lot of people was like, okay, no.
Also, it should have been the ending to the series. It should have been like the final chapter of Indiana Jones. It should have been like they tried to pass on the baton to Shia LaBeouf's character, and everything about it failed. It missed the landing in the fact that it's just like there's a 5th movie coming out for Indiana Jones because they need to do a 5th one because to try and expunge that movie and just end the story right. I don't know if you saw the Oscars. Indiana Jones should not be anywhere near a cinema.
He looks so old now.
Like it was. I've never seen a man ramble as much, and I've watched myself on this show.
That's fair. I don't know. You tend to ramble a lot more, I think. But
also, to answer Payson's comment, Brian will not be upset that I'm talking about this movie missing the landing. Just saying.
I don't think Brian Michaels actually accepts the 4th Indiana Jones movie.
True.
That's fair.
But it's like the only thing about it is like he's a terrible person, but I think Shia LaBeouf is a decent actor, and it's just like he wasn't really used at all his strengths in that film. It's like he was just meant to be like this like action hero, like oh yeah, we're gonna do what true Transformers, but put you on swings instead. Like no.
I just really don't remember the middle of this movie. I remember when I rewatched this recently-ish. It's like that opening before he gets in the fridge. I actually really enjoy. I think that's like a really fun opening sequence. Up to it's like this is actually not as bad, and then just completely forgettable. But exactly as you said, kind of Joseph, just like as it blends these two things. Like the Indiana Jones has always been fantastical, I guess. With Temple of Doom sacrifice stuff, and then the ghost, Holy Grail type of stuff in there. But it's just like Aliens just felt like a weird step for something that you just don't expect to really see in Indiana Jones, and it just doesn't feel right and true to that franchise, which is weird coming from a franchise with things like ghosts and sacrifices.
No, that's fair. So good choice by Joseph with Indiana Jones Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Tony, what have you got up your sleeve?
Okay, this is where I get to talk about horror because I am an absolute horror expert. So this movie, this is one of the only times I ever went to the cinema and literally went back and went, I want my damn money back. Because this movie doesn't so much miss the landing. It's still in the fucking air because there's no ending to this movie. The 2012 film, The Devil Inside. Let me just... I don't really want to give away spoilers, but this movie... I need to explain how this ending of this movie works. So,
put up a spoiler banner or something.
I should.
Just to spoil it, explain it. Nobody cares about 2012's The Devil Inside.
So, end of the film, they're getting away from the bad people. It's all scary, ooh, boo. There's a car crash. It goes to a title card with a website on it. To find out how the movie ends, you are meant to go to a website. This is the worst. This is the worst in the history of ever. I got dragged to see a horror movie, which I was already upset about. It was a terrible date, and then that happened. I literally demanded my money back.
Sure, that date ended well if you're at the box office demanding your money back.
It was, yeah. Surprisingly, the second date didn't happen. But it wasn't a bad movie up until the very end. It literally just felt it felt like they ran out of money, and instead of even doing anything creative, they just went, "Fuck it, just crit. We'll do a mystery element." It's like it didn't work.
Well, I haven't seen this one. Anyone on the panel has seen this one?
I have not seen it, but I've heard about it thanks to a Watch Mojo list. Didn't they also say, and they also mentioned, and tell me if this is true, Tony, the link no longer works, right?
Nope, it stopped working after about a year after the movie came out. So,
wow,
that's hilarious.
I have also not seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I just know about that horribleness of just continue the adventures online. It's just like, why?
It was on my list. It was on my list. I'm not gonna lie. It's no, so dumb.
Well, yeah, from your description, it definitely feels like it fits this topic to a T. So
it could possibly be a fantastic film. We'd never know because, unlike SpaceJam.com, it doesn't exist.
All right, Tony with The Devil Inside brings us to almost the end of round one. But first, we need Richard's pick. Richard, what you got?
All right, this one's going to be a little controversial, but I'm choosing this because of how good the first two movies were. And after watching this movie, even though the movie wasn't bad per se, but it just felt like such a big disappointment compared to how good the other two movies were. And I'm choosing The Godfather Part 3.
Okay.
I just felt like, I mean, this movie is not bad per se. It's just compared to Godfather Part 1 and Part 2, it felt extremely flat. And if this movie could have been any better, it could have been solidified as being one of the best trilogies movies of all time. And I just felt like Al Pacino's performance wasn't as strong as it was in the other two. I felt like the movie dragged on. And so that is my first pick.
All right. Well, I famously still have yet to watch the Godfather trilogy, so have at it, panel. Cannot participate in this one.
I saw this movie for the first time this year, and I do agree that it's very underwhelming compared to the first two. But in terms of not sticking the landing, I felt like that last shot in the story was pretty powerful for the overarching story of Michael Corleone. I won't spoil it because Peggy says she hasn't seen it, but
spoil away. I won't remember by the time I get to it.
I'm not necessarily having it as the ending of the movie, the ending of the trilogy. It missed the landing.
Fair.
Yeah, I haven't seen Part 3, so but I hear all the bad things kind of about it. So seems like a good pick.
I think you should see it more as like it can't be as good as 1 and 2, but it still has some moments, especially that final shot in the movie.
Sure.
And apparently oh, sorry, go ahead, Richie.
Sorry, I was going to say Godfather 3. I find Godfather 3 decent. Yeah. Kind of like the thing where you're comparing it to 3 with the play. And also,
yeah,
we lost you.
Yeah, you're really cutting in and out, mate.
Okay. People like to narrow in on like Sofia Coppola's performance, and I mean, it is. But I fine. But you're saying it into a trilogy, then yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Then,
I have heard that the release that they did last year was Godfather Coda, the Death of
Dakota,
Michael.
yeah.
I heard that is apparently does a lot of good. But to be fair, since Francis Ford Coppola got out of debt at the beginning of the century, and it's now just been doing whatever the hell he wants, damn right he should have made a good film to end it.
All right, nobody else, or if nobody else wants to comment on Godfather Part 3, that brings us to the end of round 1. Tony, can you bring up the recap so anyone who's joining late can see how round 1 went?
Absolutely. Okay, so Richard went first. He went with Signs. Jacoby kept the M. Night Shyamalan train going with Last Airbender. Joseph went with Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I went with The Devil Inside, and Richard went with The Godfather Part 3.
Which brings us back to Richard to kick off round number 2. Take it away.
My next pick is a movie that it's not a bad movie, but it's a sequel to an animated film, and there's nothing special about this film. It's the exact same movie as the first one. They just switch roles. I'm picking The Incredibles 2.
Okay.
It's the same movie. It's just Elastigirl is taking the front. I mean, I like the movie fine, but it doesn't bring anything special from the first one. And we had to wait over a decade for the sequel. I was so excited for the sequel. And when it's the exact same plot as the first one, I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
Like, they could have done so much, and they overused Jack. I don't know. It fell flat for me, in my opinion.
All right.
Jack Jack's the only goddamn good part of that film. The fight scene between Jack and the Raccoon, I put down one of the best fight scenes in animation.
and so,
For some reason, I thought you said anime film, and I was like, what?
No, anime.
Incredibles 2? Oh, animated. Sorry.
It's amazing how distinct a difference there is between those two words, but it's like, I mean, it is, I don't know. Anyways.
I liked Incredibles 2. I will admit that it was a bit of a letdown in terms of as compared to the first one, because I think the first one is just fantastic. But really I kind of liked. Do I think it missed the mark? It's like I don't know if I agree with that. Just because even though the roles switch, it was interesting to see the characters switch and be in these new positions. I didn't like they. But I guess I'm not sure. I didn't love the movie, and in terms of the first one, yes, it did miss the mark. And the good point that you made of just we had to wait so long, for it, so I can see that.
I also think the messaging behind it was didn't hit the landing, because it was saying all about like, oh, you shouldn't be slaves to screen, you should go outside, do more, like all this from Disney. Disney are telling you not to watch TV and movies, like
yeah,
like that kind of felt a bit weird.
Never really thought about it.
I do always hate in The Incredibles 2 because I did watch it instead of the World Cup final because England got knocked out in the semi-final. So I always just irrationally will hate it.
Don't you hate when that happens? Like, you just associate it with something negative, and all of a sudden, yeah.
So the reason why I did it was I thought, I'll be smart. It's going to be the World Cup final. No one's going to be there. I'm working in the afternoon. Just pop into the cinema. It'll be empty. Bunch of kids. Parents had the same exact goddamn thought, and it was just a bunch of small children running around the theater, and I was just like, I could leave and go to a pub, but I paid for a ticket. I'm already here.
Interesting way to see it, but all right. Richard includes Incredibles 2 onto his squad. Tony, you're up.
Okay, I'm going to go for one that I feel like it failed as a concept. It was a movie that could have been incredible. It could have done some wonderful ideas, and everything about it really was working up until they went, oh no, we're going to actually try and be a bit serious here. Like, so the idea of a superhero being a dick, like, and not really caring is actually a really interesting concept, and it works. And it works so well when Will Smith was playing the amnesiac Hancock. And then they just went in like, oh no, we're actually going to tell a serious tale now. It's like, no, we don't want it. We want Will Smith to be a jerk. And we want Jason Bateman to try and make him nice. That's all we want for this movie. Just leave it that. Leave Charlize Theron. Just put her away. You've ruined this movie by trying to make it more than it needs to be.
Yeah, I think they kind of did the same thing well, not really the same thing, but kind of with the movie Draft Day, like they had a love story that was just completely unnecessary, and I think took away from the essence of the film. I get that it's a huge plot point in Hancock because the closer they are, the weaker they are, and all that kind of thing. But
it's a really strange mythology type, like world building element to throw in, like so late into the story that they're actually immortal gods who need to be apart from each other, or else it's like well, that's not what I expected going into this movie. So I can agree with that.
If you pick this movie just one more time.
Yeah.
No, I really liked Hancock. I kind of disagree. I really liked the movie. So I liked the ending too. So I had no complaints about this, but I can understand why you picked it. It wasn't on my list because I enjoyed it.
I haven't seen this in a long time, but so I can't really remember the ending, but I do remember liking the movie, so I might have to go back and rewatch. But yeah.
Also, I'm a little biased because this opening scene when he crashes into the freeway, the sign in the freeway sign, it's my hometown, San Pedro. So I'm always biased when my town gets represented. So
that's cool.
But it honestly felt like two different movies just smashed into one. Like, and it could have been two good movies, just separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Joseph, over to you for your second round pick.
Okay. There are a couple here that I definitely want to talk about because a couple of these movies I was really, really liking, but didn't like the ending. But which one to go with? I could go with a lot of options. This is hard. Okay, I'm gonna go with a movie that I was enjoying quite a bit. It's kind of silly. It's kind of over the top in terms of what this franchise has gone with, but like 2/3 in, I was like, this is fairly fun. This is a fun movie. Maybe not a great movie. Like, I shouldn't expect it to be as great as the original Jurassic Park, but it shouldn't be like as. But the ending made me mad. Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. The ending, is the most blatant want of a continuing franchise that it just disregards what the characters want and stand for in the movie. And then just one character. Does everyone here has seen Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom?
Yep.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah. I haven't, but I don't care to see it. I'm not going to see it.
Oh, you sure?
Yeah. I'm in one of those beliefs where it should have stopped after the first movie because all the movies have been crap after that.
Fair.
Preach. Yes.
Well, there's a point where the dinosaurs are trapped in a building and they are dying because and they are being suffocated because they are dangerous to go out. And Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard are having this moment together where Bryce Dallas Howard is about to open the door to let the dinosaurs out, but Chris Pratt's saying no, they're right out of civilization and the city. They can't go out there because they're going to cause a lot of destruction. This needs to end. The Jurassic Park thing needs to end. So she decides to agree with it. So she's like, okay, I understand. She takes away her hand. But then a girl who comes in the movie opens the door to let all the dinosaurs out. It's just it's like a blatant disregard for what they just said that they were going to do because they want to continue this as a franchise. And it's like they were mentioning, it's going to cause so much destruction, so much mayhem. A lot of people are going to die. It's this if there's a movie that ruins any goodwill that I could have had with it was rewatching it, for example, in its last 5 minutes, this is one of the big ones that for me. Well, yeah.
Jacoby, you had quite the reaction on that one.
I was, because this was going to be my very next choice, because I agree with absolutely everything that you just said, Joseph. I think the ending of this movie, the setup for trying to save the dinosaurs, we have to save them, and then the clone of the daughter of him says I had to save them because they're like me, is the stupidest justification for letting dinosaurs out in the world that are going to destroy everything, because the movie frames it as a really noble choice. These dinosaurs deserve to live and be out there, even though they're going to probably wipe out a lot of humanity, and now humanity is at war. But the fact that the movie doesn't doesn't do it as like an accident, but that it shoots that whole moment as just like that's the right thing to do in this situation is so infuriating to me because I guess I'm heartless, but I'm just like I was like no, I'm sorry, those dinosaurs like I don't think they should be out there, but it was just ridiculous and so stupid. I hated that movie, and I hated it even more up to that point, like when that part came up.
Here's my issue with that movie as well. It's the fact that when you watch Jurassic Park, you expect a few tropes. You expect it to be in an enclosed environment. You expect the dinosaurs chasing you. You expect all this. You don't expect basically a knockoff Bourne film, which the second half of Jurassic Fallen Kingdom basically is. They go off the island. They do. Oh, it's Chris Pratt. He's got to go find all the stuff. He's got to do this. He's got to be a spy. It's like, just give us dinosaurs. Give us him running away from dinosaurs. That's all we want from Jurassic Park. We don't need to see auctions and like spat espionage. We don't need this shit.
Yeah.
And I already said it. I just think there's only should have been one Jurassic Park movie because there hasn't been a good sequel since.
Lost World is okay. Like,
no, it wasn't good.
Cut me down.
I'm sorry. I don't know how many times you can make the mistake of making a park with live dinosaurs and be shocked when something goes wrong.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's true.
Oh no, it's the 7th time this has happened. Let's proceed.
I thought we'd worked out all the kinks. Damn it. But, all right. Jacoby, so sorry that one went off the board right before your turn, but you're up next. What's
so excited to talk about it, but thank you, Joseph, for even bringing it up so that we could talk about it. So then I think I'm going to choose this one just in case it's chosen later. I have a few in my back pocket that I don't think anyone's going to pick. But so the one I'm going to choose right now is another trilogy ender that I think missed the mark. That I think when I saw it, I liked it. I liked it enough. It was a pretty good cap to this kind of character's journey. At least that's what I thought. But after a few times of rewatching it, I think I kept getting more disappointed each time because of how the movie was framing it as this really epic ending when in reality it just creates a lot of problems. So I think Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy peaked at The Dark Knight, and I love that movie, but then the more times I watch The Dark Knight Rises, the more problems I have with it, and especially that whole ending sequence with the bomb and him actually being alive and passing the mantle off to Robin. The stupid thing is just none of that works for me upon any sort of rewatch. So Dark Knight Rises, I think, missed the mark as a movie itself and as a trilogy ender to one of what started as, I think, one of the great 1-2 punches, because I love Batman Begins and I love The Dark Knight. So for The Dark Knight Rises to miss the mark on 2 accounts.
Yeah. I had that on my list.
Yeah, it was on my list.
I do like. I always say I don't like The Dark Knight except for Heath Ledger's Joker performance. Is the reason why I can understand why people love this movie is because of his performance. But Dark Knight Rises, the ending of that was just really. I completely agree with you. The ending just really fell flat.
I didn't have it on my list, but it is. But there are other scenes in the movie that I have more problems with, less satisfied with, not just the ending. Also, the ending of the last scene with Bane is also kind of a just disappointing scene with that. Also, Batman Begins and Dark Knight are 2 of my favorite comic book movies of all time. But then this one follows up, and it's I can still find enjoyment in it. I think for what it's worth, it's almost 3 hours long, but I can still relatively finish it in one sitting. It's at least entertaining enough for the total. But there's a lot of unsatisfying plot elements in the movie that just don't hold up with the first 2. Yeah, I can agree with this, even though it wasn't quite on my list.
So
I just don't like The Dark Knight also as well, besides Heath Ledger's performance, because I don't like what they did to the Scarecrow. They made him into a joke the last 2 movies. I thought he was a really great villain in the first one. And Maggie Gyllenhaal was terrible casting for Rachel.
I don't know. But it's my issue with Dark Knight Rises. It very much feels that it's the Christopher Nolan realizes he's now a demigod movie. Because it came out just after Inception, so it's he already got the plaudits of being the greatest director living today, all this jazz. It's this, and he had the Dark Knight of being, it's the greatest comic book film of all time. It's I can do nothing wrong, so I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to try and make a love story. X have a love story, Y do this. And it's just like, no, mate, just stick to what you did with the Dark Knight. That's what we liked. And then after this is just like, I'm not the biggest fan of Nolan post Dark Knight Rises. So this is like the start of him just going, yeah, mate, just take yourself a bit less seriously, mate. You're making movies about a guy that dresses up as a giant bat. You're not making pure cinema.
I guess that's a fair opinion to have.
Richie, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, you kind of all echoed my opinions on it. Like I actually didn't mind the movie up until the ending where it's like it's revealed live and he's just I don't know. That just felt like just what I know. And times I'd be repeating everything you said, but yes, I agree.
Well, that brings us over to you, Richie, to close out round 2. What you got?
All right. I'm gonna take a movie that's a good concept, but this movie is so far up its own ass. It's just so annoying. It has like so many. It thinks it's so amazing. It has so many twists that by the final twist of revealing that this guy is on their actual side, I'm like, I'm checked out. I'm gonna go with Now You See Me.
Yeah.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
I like that they had so many twists. I'm like, and each one just built on the next one. It's like that's way too far fetched. And it's just like when Mark Ruffalo was revealed to be like with them. I'm like, oh fuck you.
To be fair, I'm always happy when Mark Ruffalo's on my side. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I disagree with you. I really love Now You See Me. If you would have picked the second one, I could understand. But
Richie,
the first one-
way worse. Richard, be quiet. I agree. This first one is great. I love this movie. Magicians, Heist. Mark Ruffalo turned out to be a good guy because he's actually the magician.
Welcome to the Eye.
Welcome to the Eye. Come on, that's awesome. I love this movie. I think this movie is great, and it totally hit the landing.
Yeah, I disagree with that take though.
I love this movie too. The ending is absolute trash. I'm sorry. It's just like if you go back and just like, I'm sorry. So you've been pretending to be Inspector Clouseau this entire time. It's just like, nah, mate. It's like they do this wonderful like everything makes sense and everything feels like okay, this could live in this environment. Like this understand, but it's just like yeah, that's a bridge too far, mate.
Yeah, I had Now You See Me on my list as well. The ending does bring the movie down for me. It's not as bad as the sequel, but yeah, it's definitely deserving of being drafted here.
I like how Daniel Radcliffe said in interviews that he wants to shake off the Harry Potter vibe, and then he plays a villain in Now You See Me too. But no, yeah, that's kind of fun. Anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, a wizard and a magician are two different things, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it adjacent?
Oh, Peggy.
All right, Peggy's being attacked.
I'm actually, I'm trying to calm some dogs down right now. So Tony, if you could.
Absolutely. All right. So Richard went first this round. He went with The Incredibles 2. I went with Hancock. Joseph went with Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, trying to break the record of the most words in a list. Jacoby went with Dark Knight Rises, and Richie went Now You See Me. And just quickly before we go to Richie for his third round, here's where I'm going to do some shameless whoring. So next month on Fantasy Film Fight, so the 5th next week, iconically 80s films. These are films that aren't the greatest of the 80s, they just represent the 80s the best. The 12th is No Prep Challenge 2, so this is where the show where we bring on a panel and tell them on live what the thing is and see how they do. 19th, 1997, and 26th, because of the anniversary of Thelma and Louise, Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon. So the form will be in the chat now, and also it's on Twitter and Facebook. So if you are interested in any of them, please sign up. It's always a fun time.
To explain the Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon thing, you can pick Thelma and Louise in any movie, but you just can't pick Thelma and Louise. That was the concept that we came up with.
Thelma or Louise, not Thelma and Louise.
Yes. So it'll be a fun one. It's gonna be a fun month. But yeah, Tony, round 2 recap. Take it away.
Already done it.
Did you? Oh shit! Sorry, my bad. Damn dogs were distracting me. So yeah, Richie.
All right, I'm gonna take this one. I don't even think like Six of Land. It's not a good movie altogether. I'm just putting it because I was just totally disappointed in it. Just like I'm a huge fan of I'm actually a big fan of I know it can be very divisive. I'm a big fan of Family Guy and Seth MacFarlane's humor, and I enjoyed Ted. That was pretty good, and Ted 2 was not as good, but okay. 1,000 Ways to Die in the West is fucking terrible. I did that movie that's so lazy. Just it's I feel like it was written by a teenager. I just this immature. I hated it. I hate sitting there. I'm I almost got out of the movie, and I'm that's not what I wanted to with the Seth MacFarlane movie. So yeah, it has to be on this list. I'm sorry. I know it's probably not anyone's list because you'd argue it didn't actually take off. But yeah, but I have to put this on.
I mean, I haven't seen it because I saw the trailer and it didn't look good from the trailers. So
I haven't seen it either. Yeah.
For someone whose humor can be really good with Seth MacFarlane, then it is clear that this movie did miss the mark for not living up to the potential that it could have. Yeah.
And and you look at the cast, you got Seth as the lead role, you got Charlize Theron, you got Liam Neeson playing, basically forcing himself into that because of a joke that they made on Family Guy. It's Neil Patrick Harris here for Silverman. It's a great cast, and given the right material, this should have worked perfectly. It should have been a lot funny, but it's just everything about it just didn't work. And it's there's not been a good comedic western since Blazing Saddles, and it feels like it's right to be taking a piss out of in an Austin Powers-esque way.
Yeah. I realized I hated this movie so much I messed up the title. I've been a million ways to die in the West. Thank you, Tony.
But
yeah,
and it's
sorry. Not much to say about this movie, really. It's just it was bad. I knew Charlize Theron's fine in it, but with the material she's given, but the material she's given is not great. So yeah.
I just remember they ruined the best joke in the trailer with the Christopher Lloyd reveal. That just it would have been an epic moment and super hilarious. But then knowing that's the best joke in the movie, and
that's also likely going to be the last appearance of Doc Brown in cinema.
Million Ways to Die in the West. Yep.
And there's also another ending at the very, very end of the film. There's another ending where this is the final time you'll ever see this character in cinema, and it's A Million Ways to Die in the fucking West.
Yeah.
This movie sucks.
Well, guess it's the appropriate one to pick then. So let's move on over to Jacoby to see what he picks for his third round pick.
Well, we already talked about the first one. Now we're going to talk about the second because Now You See Me, the first one, is great. I love this movie, and it has a great twist. The reason Now You See Me 2 doesn't stick the landing is because it retcons the first movie. At the end of the first movie, Morgan Freeman is the bad guy, and he's locked away, and they trick him, and that's it. And I think that's a really solid ending. The second movie retcons into Morgan Freeman's actually a good guy, and he was actually part of it the whole time. And they're framing it like he knew the whole time, and it was just part of it. It's no, you did not. You did not plan for this movie to be a success at all. And then you had to change your whole story to, for some reason, make Morgan Freeman an ultimate good guy when he was so clearly the bad guy in the first one. It is such a slap in the face. Plus, the card scene is fucking stupid. When they're throwing the card around to each other is the dumbest thing. It takes a movie that I thought was really good, kind of realistic, not super realistic, but grounded type of tricks, and they turn the tricks into just horribleness in the second one. So I think Now You See Me 2 does not stick the landing after the brilliance of the first one.
See, I agree with Jacoby. The first one's really good. I did not have the second one on my list, though, for the mere fact is I didn't think this movie was going to be as good as the first one. I had no expectations because the first one was such a hard thing to do to make it so good. And when they got rid of the other actress couldn't come back for the second one, I knew it wasn't going to be as great. And I was right.
It does feel like just everything about that film just went, no, we're not gonna bother. Just give us some money. Why not?
And I believe
yeah, they are making a third one. I think that's what Richie said.
Yeah.
Oh dear God.
Oh boy.
Money
John
grab.
M2, you've got better things to do with your time. Please stay the hell away from this. Justin Bieber Never Say Better was better than Now You See Me Too.
Weird movie to compare it to.
That was like his first film after the Step Up movies.
Oh, okay.
If we ever do musical movies or music or like concert films, Justin Bieber Never Say Never may appear high up on my list.
That's fair. That's very fair.
You need to watch more musical documentaries, bro.
I watch a lot of them. I just really. It's a very good thing. All right, I'll shut up now.
It's all right, because we're gonna move it on over to Joseph and his third overall pick. Joseph, what you got?
Okay, Tony wants me to pick a shorter title, so the one I'm going to go with is a movie that I actually think has a very interesting concept in terms of how social media affects people and how pressures of social media have a lot to do with people doing some ridiculous things and ridiculous stunts in this movie. There's this one movie from 2016 that maybe not as popular, but it's a movie that I saw that I thought had a really interesting concept. I thought that it was very entertaining for what it's trying to be. It's called Nerve with Emma Roberts and Dave Franco in the movie. Basically, this movie is a bunch of people that use this nerve game where they are dared to do ridiculous stunts outside where they have to do outside stuff that are supposed to gain them views and also money. So they do a lot of weird stuff. Like the first thing that Emma Roberts' character has to do is kiss a stranger for 5 seconds, and slowly the dares go like more daring and kind of more ridiculous. And and there's also this one subplot where they show like somebody died from it. So with the way that they progressed the story, I was like, okay, this is very entertaining. Like as a concept, I like this concept. I think it was very entertaining. The ending kind of ruins it for me because it makes the characters free of the consequences that could have been there. The movie ends with a particular reveal that implies that the characters get no consequences from the increasing dares that they do, and it kind of ruins the impact of the ending for me. It's like a cheap way to go out, a cop out. So that's my third pick.
Cool. I have not seen this one. Anyone in there can offer their 2 cents on the movie?
I've never heard of it.
I remember the trailer, and it looked like an interesting-esque concept, and I was like, yeah, I could dig it. I'm disappointed that it didn't stick the landing though, because
I've seen.
Yeah.
But
you're cutting out again, Richie. Can't.
All right.
I'm so sorry, buddy.
I remember seeing it. It's like, yeah, Joseph, right. It's a film that is just absolutely if this gets remade tomorrow, this could be a fantastic film. Everything about it, like, there's so much like social commentary as well that you can put into it, but it just felt that it didn't really bother with it. They just like the script was just it was based on a book. It just feels like they just got a book. Like, all right, this is an interesting idea. Let's make a movie quickly. Let's go. Let's do this hot button issue while it's going. But it's like, yeah, this is an absolutely fantastic pick. Like, it's one of those. Yeah,
yeah.
Tony's on board with the pick. That's been made clear. And speaking of Tony, you might as well just move on over to your next pick. What you got? Hi, bro.
So I have one that I feel too awkward to do, so I'm not going to do this one.
You tease.
I know. I'm still in my head trying to work my way around it. But all right, I'm going to go for one that I don't think we can really talk about that much because it's very new. But when this topic came to mind, when this topic we did, this came up to mind very early, and it's the Sound of Metal.
Really?
Wow.
So this, I believe, Riz Ahmed. I've not. Sadly, The Father hasn't come out here yet, so I've not seen Anthony Hopkins. But Riz Ahmed, I thought, like, if they're not going to give it to Chadwick Boseman, Riz Ahmed is certain in for it. It's a fantastic film. Everything about it works perfectly. The use of sound is some of the is going to be used in film schools for the next 20 years. It's like, here's a way to do this concept. I just feel that the final third of this movie, just everything about it just goes like, why? Just no, why? It just feels it did the movie a disservice. And if they did a better ending, if they gave it a better ending, or did anything better with it, it would be like, oh yeah, this is the best picture. This is going to do X or Y.
I have a feeling this pick is going to cause a little bit of fodder in the poll coming up later. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I guess this one's hard to talk about, I guess, right? Because it's so new, so we don't want to.
Yeah.
I have not seen it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, interesting choice then.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's about all you can really say at this point.
It
But
just makes no sense after a while of just like it was building up to something, then it just, and now for something completely different. Like, okay.
Yeah, when it turns into an MCU film and he actually becomes a superhero
Right,
and joins
yeah,
the
Captain
Avengers,
America
it's
shows
super
up, it's
weird that they
weird.
have weird crossover. But
It actually becomes A Quiet Place too, which is really weird and unusual.
oh god. All right, so might as well just move on, just to avoid potential spoilers for those of you who have not seen that one. Yeah, apparently Aaron really disagrees with that pick. But Richard, you're up next. Let's see if Aaron agrees or disagrees with whatever you have.
My next pick is the Justice League.
Yeah.
When your whole franchise is supposed to compete with the MCU, and this is supposed to be your Avengers type movie, and it gave you this, it wasn't good at all. Like, it was okay, but if you want, it needs to feel like this is supposed to be a movie that's supposed to make you excited for Batman, Superman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Flash. This movie was super rushed, minus Zack Snyder had to leave it early, and then we got the Snyder Cut, which I like. The Snyder Cut was better, but it wasn't nearly what we were expecting or supposed to be getting in these types of freaking films. Steppenwolf was terrible in the theatrical version. He looked awful. The plot was awful. The humor was bad. The ending was atrocious. So that it's just an easy pick, the Justice League.
Yeah, I think the MCU Kevin Feige and all them just knocked it out of the park so hard that any other kind of comic book series or some type of epic storyline, it's kind of going to pale in comparison because they just did it so well right out the gate. At least that's my opinion of it.
I like Aaron's comment. That's quite the whiplash going from Sound of Metal to Justice League.
Well, they're both popular films from this year.
True.
yeah, I think we as a society have bashed Justice League enough, and rightfully so, for the last, I think, 3 years ever since it came out. So, or 4 years now. I don't even...
late 2017. So technically a little over 3 years.
I do also want to add, like, Batman v Superman. I mean, I personally like the movie. The Justice League kind of became a hypocrite from what took place in Batman v Superman.
Sure.
Like, Bruce's character extremely changed over in like that period of time.
It absolutely doesn't stick the landing because it doesn't stick with the landing that they tried to set out for itself. That the story that they were trying to tell, and it failed. Good pick. Well, bad pick because it's a bad movie, but yes,
yeah. Everything about that film is just like DC probably is the better superheroes, better villains than the Marvel film, like the Marvel canon. Like they've got like Superman is a better character than Iron Man, all this stuff. Like they've got the better characters, and it should have been amazing. Like if they give the time and effort and to go, we're gonna copy what the MCU do and like do this over 10 years, be some of the best. But it's like no, it was just terrible.
No patience. Rush it. Big screen. Toys. $1 billion.
And don't make it over long.
Yeah, don't make it over long. People don't like long movies. Keep it short. That's it.
That's fair.
Short and snappy.
All right, just like round 3 was a little bit short and snappy. So let's get to the recap and proceed to round 4. Tony.
Absolutely. Okay, so for round 4, so Richard went first and he went A Million Ways to Die in the West. Jacoby went Now You See Me Too. Joseph went with Nerve. I went with Sound of Metal. Fight Me Nerds. And Richard went with Justice League.
All right, round 4. Richard, where are you going with this one?
My next pick is Star Trek Into Darkness.
Ooh.
Really?
Ooh.
Okay.
Well,
I really liked the first half of the movie, but the second half just it fell flat. Like we all saw Benedict Cumberbatch coming as Khan. We got that, but it was just kind of overly done towards the half end, and it wasn't as good as Star Trek 09, which I really like Star Trek 09, and it just fell flat from the first movie. So I felt like it missed the landing in this one, and it came back a little bit with Star Trek Beyond, but it was a big letdown.
I love Star Trek Into Darkness.
I kind of do too. Yeah.
I know. I admit that it's a letdown in terms of just how they marketed that movie, because there's just the wrong choice to hide Khan and swear up and down that it was not Khan, and they weren't doing Wrath of Khan, and it wasn't it, but it's super obvious that it was Khan. So I think, like, in that retrospect, I was like, I completely agree. That missed the mark completely on how they should have done that movie. But that's a movie I saw at least 6 times in theaters, because I was like right around the age where I loved it. But I agree with, like, the concept of how that film was missing the mark, and it's not as good as 09. So
I saw this movie once. I remember liking it, but I do remember my dad talking about how he really didn't like the ending. He also thought it was very overdone and also kind of let down compared to, like, how it's so obvious that the Khan thing was there, and that it was just a remake of elements of Wrath of Khan. So I get it. I just didn't personally dislike it as much as other Star Trek endings. Personally, I think there's another movie in the Star Trek canon that I would have picked for movies that don't stick the landing, but I can understand this one.
Yeah, I like the movie. But yeah, I think it's just a victim of mismarketing. So I mean, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I like the movie, but I understand why.
But you are, I realized, I just remember, like, the Tribble thing I thought was stupid with, like, the blood transfusion. That part, I thought that part was really dumb. And that's at the very end of the movie.
And also, Spock yelling Khan was just, it was too much.
Yeah.
It was too much. I'm sorry.
I like that. Yeah, it sure didn't fit with the character, but I guess I like the flippin' dynamic, I guess, from the Khan for how that switched. But you're right, it only worked because it was a flip of dynamic. It really didn't fit with his character of, like,
and this is also the second time where they took out Scotty for the majority of the movie, which Scotty was one of my favorite characters from the first one.
Wow.
09.
It's okay. He wrote the third one, so he's fine.
Just
I know.
looks,
And I liked the third one.
Yeah, Beyond's fun.
I've not seen any of the other ones apart from the 09.
Well, you have them to look forward to, and then you be the judge of whether or not they stuck the landing in that one or not. But speaking of, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just going to throw it over to you because you're up next.
All right. I'm going to go for this one since we're talking about sci-fi stuff, and I get to shamelessly haul after this discussion as well. So, one of the greatest characters in the history of cinema is a bounty hunter that drives around with a giant woolly friend. Everyone wants to hear this story. Like, it's always, growing up, it was always the game of just like, oh, who gets to be Han Solo? Who gets to play that character? Do you pretend to be Solo? Then they made a film about the beginning of Solo. And to say Mr. Landing is an insult. It feels, everything about that film just, it was just covered in beige. I don't know what, this film, I had to go and check and make sure it wasn't broken when I was watching it in the cinema. It just seemed like it was just like the camera was done wrong, and the story elements about it just felt so. It's just like there's nothing to this. Just like, oh yeah, this is really interesting. We needed this story for Han Solo. We needed this backstory. It's like everything about it just failed, and it kind of tarnishes the character of Solo.
I enjoyed the movie. I only watched this for the first time, I want to say maybe a month and a half ago, just helping out Lacey and Thomas over in the Schmodown a little bit with their study sessions. I thought it was fun. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was a nice little insight into Han's past. I don't know.
I agree with you. This movie missed completely the mark of Han Solo.
Yeah. Okay.
But I will say this is a movie that didn't need to be made. I didn't want a Solo movie. We didn't need this kind of movie.
Yeah, I think
but it's a good choice.
That was I think I agree that it missed the landing just because I think expectations were just so. I think on its own, it's kind of a solid movie. It has a good cast and good everything like that. But I guess coming off the expectations of like the internet hate of why are we doing a Han Solo movie? Why is this necessary? All the drama that came with it. It's like if it doesn't, it's going to be if it has the Star Wars brand to it. I think on that level, I think it missed the mark.
Yeah, I think this movie's fine. But obviously, with a Star Wars movie, you sort of expect more. So I can understand why it's on your list.
That's fair.
Also, yeah, I didn't hate this movie, but I can understand people being disappointed in it. It's just there. It's another movie in the Star Wars canon. Nothing remarkable about it, but also I don't hate it. But I can see where the ending is very kind of underwhelming.
Well, it's not even the ending. It's just every single part of it. I felt they just like was underwhelming. Just didn't deliver. It's like, oh, how did Han Solo meet Chewbacca? It's like, this is what you give us. It's like this is shit. It's like the name is the thing. But I'm just like, you've just crashed a Millennium Falcon into a bridge. Well done.
No, he was fed. He was supposed to be food for Chewie. Chewie hadn't eaten in 3 days. See, I'm learning Star Wars shit. Anyway, so Tony takes Solo, a Star Wars story. Joseph, over to you for your 4th round pick.
Okay, remember when I said that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull I didn't hate when I was younger, but as I grew older, I could understand more and more people's disappointment with the ending? Well, one movie I saw, there's one movie I saw that helped me more, that I give some credit more to me seeing it. It gives me an immediate light bulb kind of to yeah, that's right. That's a problem with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It's a kind of a spoiler because it's from 2019, but I won't say too much about it. I'll just say that this zombie movie called The Dead Don't Die has an ending that's reminiscent of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and it's very random, and it's very disappointing compared to what the movie was trying to be. Because up until that point, I thought that this movie was a fairly entertaining zombie movie. The characters are very deadpan and very quirky and kind of charming in the movie. There's Bill Murray, Adam Driver, Chloe Sevigny, Tilda Swinton as some of the characters in the movie that are very entertaining, but the ending just felt so random and out there that made me so this is what people talk about when they talk about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This movie made me have the thoughts that I think that made me think this is how people must have felt when they saw that movie. So without spoiling too much, that's what my thoughts are on The Dead Don't Die.
No, I appreciate it because I haven't seen it yet. Go ahead, Jacoby.
I'm blanking on the director's name. What's his name?
Jim Jarmusch.
Jim Jarmusch. It's like his movies are always just kind of like that, just in that sort of tone and style. I haven't seen this one, but I wanted to. I guess I will get to it eventually, but now I'll be anticipating a miss the mark ending.
I went to the premiere of this and kind of. I got there and the cinema had stairs, and so I missed out. So, but my friend who invited me was like, "Oh, you didn't miss much." So,
it's a bummer though.
It is.
Yeah, so I'll get to watch it eventually, but yeah, I'm not having high expectations.
Cool.
Yeah, I remember when this film came out, it's because of the cast and because it's Jarmusch, everyone expecting greatness. Then it was just
I haven't seen
it. It stars Bill Murray, so I've not seen it because fuck Bill Murray.
Tony and your thing with Bill Murray, I don't understand it, but okay.
I just find him insufferable.
You're insufferable.
I know. It's my charm, like his charm. I'm sure if you put us in a room together, we would murder each other.
All right, so then let's just move over to Jacoby.
Yeah, go on Aaron's good side.
This one is what am I going to pick? Yeah, I'll pick this one just because this is going to be kind of similar to my first choice, how I chose The Last Airbender, where it might be good on its own, but being familiar with maybe the source material out of how it just completely especially the ending, changes it and adapts it, and in my opinion, ruins it in a really baffling way, is really curious to me. And I think this is one of it's a super long-running franchise. It is technically a fantasy franchise, so to speak. They did not reboot it. There's sequels with that are not very fantastic. But I am going to go with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
As a movie that missed the mark for a lot of reasons, I think. But I think for very, very specifically in that final battle with Voldemort, how they in the movie that we got, they morphed it into this big epic battle of twisting around of Hogwarts, and then when Voldemort dies, he literally disintegrates.
Oh! Voldemort. No, I'm kidding.
No, I was like, oh god.
I'm just joking. I'm kidding.
And just my big problem, there's a lot of big problems I just think I have with just that ending overall, but it's like that in particular just never really sat well with me, because the point of the book was that when he dies, he crumples and he's just a mortal man. And that was the whole point of that. Voldemort loses his power, like that he was nothing but a guy. But the fact that they changed it into an epic turning into dust type of thing, along with the fact that how they handled Neville's cutting off of the sword, and just they had to pivot to add 10 more minutes of an epic battle when they really did not need to. I just think overall is one of the reasons why I just think Part 2 missed the mark.
As a Harry Potter fan, I mean, I can understand your pick, but nothing was ever going to be as good as the books were. And there have been books that have had far worse endings from the book adaptation. So I can understand your pick, but it wasn't on my list because there are other worse endings, especially since we have these crappy Fantastic Beasts being piled. So I'm satisfied with Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Joseph, you had a strong reaction there. You want to comment a little bit?
I've had this reaction for years with regards to that ending. Like, I loved okay, so when I was reading the Harry Potter books, I was very into them, and when they reached book 4, they started benching like 700 pages or longer, and 600 pages and 700 pages. So they took me a little bit more longer to get it to finish through. Yeah. And then Aaron just said Baltimore dies in Harry Potter. But yeah, and then Deathly Hallows I finished in like 5 or 6 days, so I was like very excited to see Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2 in the movie. That ending with that final fight, it's always been so like, I don't know, it just felt so rushed every time I see it. Like, there are really great scenes in the movie. I think for someone who yes, thank you, Bill.
Absolutely.
This also needs to be pinpointed at the Harry Potter movies for doing that. And it's just for a movie that like is feeling so epic. I just always feel like it's so. I always feel like that part is just like puts the movie at a dead stop in terms of how epic I felt about the movie. And it's like, I don't know, I've always felt down about that part of, even though the rest of the movie I thought was pretty well done. But yeah, great pick, Jacoby.
Woohoo! I'm on Joseph's good side.
Yes.
And I do think, like, when Phil mentioned it being that first one to really go, we're going to split this story into 2. But we had a ton more expectations. Like, you read the book again and you went, oh, this is going to be really interesting scene. We didn't get it. Or just like you mentioned with Neville, it's like his heroic rise. That would have been so incredible to see. We didn't get it. Like, you had 4 hours to tell the story when you should have had 2. It's like, and you still missed some of the key points.
Yeah.
I could do with 3 hours for Deathly Hallows with it being the finale.
No, but as in like splitting up into 2 films, just like you expected more, you expected like a better showing of the story rather than like when it cut like half out.
I agree.
Strong pick, it turns out. I wonder what Rue's gonna say when the poll goes up, but we'll move over to Richie to close out round 4. Richie, what you thinking?
Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yeah, much better.
All right. Cool.
Great, but better.
I'm going to go with. I think Richard briefly mentioned it before. It's not a movie that really sticks landing. I don't even think that this movie even showed up to the airport. But this but I had a great anticipation of it because it's based on a well-loved TV show, and I was excited. But what I got was a hunk of shit. I'm gonna go with Dragon Ball Evolution.
Okay.
I hate this. It's just like everything misses the mark. The plot, even the casting, just the CGI, just overall bad. And I can't remember the last time I went when I was in the cinema. So disappointed.
All right, I'm not a Dragon Ball Evolution type of gal. No concept of even commenting on this one. So have at it, guys.
It is a piece of garbage film. The only reason I didn't have it on my list is because I saw the trailer. I'm like, no, what did you do? Please cancel this film. Like it missed. I felt like Dragon Ball Evolution. I think the director Wikipedia Dragon Ball Z, and said, "Okay, I'll take a guess at it." There was nothing good about this film. Maybe James Marsden as Piccolo, but even then, that was not good.
Wow.
Like they ruined Emily Rossum too. She was in that movie. She was bad.
I didn't even know the cast of this movie was that kind of stacked. Wow.
Yeah. Cho Fan was Cho Yun Fat? Or I always forget his name too. He's in that movie.
Cho Yun Fat played Master Roshi.
Yeah.
Wow. I forgot about that.
I say as if I know the characters.
Huh. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm sure it is garbage.
I was on. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. I talk a lot.
I was on a bus trip. I was on a bus trip when traveling with my family when this was one of the movies that they were showing on the bus, and I was thinking, oh, it's another movie. But I was also thinking I had just seen what was the other movie that they played before this? They were playing a bunch of movies on the bus, and I was seeing a couple of them, and I was like getting tired. I had to rest a bit, and when I saw this movie, I was like seeing parts of it, but then eventually I decided to like rest a little bit, try to nap a little bit during the bus trip, and so I didn't finish it all the movie. And then later, as I learned that this movie has a terrible reputation, I'm thinking maybe I made the right choice with not staying awake, with not watching the whole movie.
Yeah, you're probably off better getting your rest.
Yeah. Also, it was starting from working with the Dragon Ball series, so it wasn't like they had the greatest material to begin with.
Dragon Ball is a national treasure. How dare you? I absolutely love Dragon Ball.
I'm sorry. There's one good episode every 50 in between. It's like for 40 minutes.
No, that's Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball actually were better with that.
Fair.
The original Dragon Ball is when Goku was a child.
Yeah.
And by the way, he was a teenager in high school in that film.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And the tournament, the best part of the Dragon Ball series was a circle.
That went right over my head because I have no concept of what you're talking about.
Yeah, trust me. If you did, you'd be angry.
I'm sorry, we should all go home. The Garth won.
He always has the good quips like that. Love you, Garth. All right, end of round 4. Tony, recap away while I go get Rory some water so she can stop whining in the corner. I'll be back in a sec.
Okay, so Richard went first this round. He went with Star Trek Into Darkness. I went with Solo. Joseph went with Dead Don't Die. Jacoby went with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. And Richie went for Dragon Ball Evolution. And since I forgot to do my shameless whoring whilst I mentioned Solo, I'll do it now. Digesting Cinema, Digesting the Force, coming out May 4th, where Christina, for the first time ever, will watch the Star Wars series.
That'd be funny if it actually was the Harry Potter series.
That would be more interesting, just to confuse people. We trick her into believing that Luke Skywalker is actually Harry Potter.
Harry Potter's like, I thought this was a Luke Skywalker. Why is everyone calling him Harry?
You're a Jedi, Harry.
I now want to see a buddy cop movie with Yoda and Dumbledore.
Not sure.
Film on the weed from Yoda and Dumbledore.
Yeah, no, I don't know if that's getting greenlit there, Tony. All right, round 5. This is where you round out your team. I don't know if there's a way to round out this topic, but do your damnedest, whatever one that you really want on your squad. This is where you pick it to complete your team. Richie, what you got?
All right, this is probably another one that's just a victim of mismarketing. But like, I came in expecting one thing, got another one, and it was quite boring. Who doesn't like Muppets being bad? I thought, so when I watched Happy Time Murders, that's what I thought I was getting. I thought I'd laugh a minute, and this was boring as shit. I hated it. Yeah, this snooze fest to me. And like the jokes, most of the jokes, good jokes from the trailer. A lot of it falls flat, and it was just not my thing. I feel like if it was sort of the market a bit more serious, I might have totally, might have been into it more. But yeah, I was, I just was, it wasn't for me.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one at all. So again, this is one of those ones again I can't comment on. So anyone seen Happy Time Murders?
No, because it's not.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's not Avenue Q, and it had Melissa McCartney, so I knew it wasn't going to be good.
I only saw the trailer. I haven't seen the movie.
It's the disappointing white Mrs. Marks. I think isn't it Jim Henson's son who directed it?
Yep.
Brian Henson directed, which is such a sad concept when you think about it, of someone to come from Jim Henson and then just to have a really shitty puppet movie. It's just oh. So I agree with you. I saw this, I was like, yeah, this is a movie, and maybe it has some likable parts, but just overall, it's not a good thing. And you're right, missed the mark completely for what it should have been, coming from the Henson family.
Also, if you can ever find these clips on YouTube, the Muppets After Dark stuff that they do, it's incredible. It's some of the best comedy you'll find, because it's the Muppet performers being able to do improv and just going, you know what, you can swear in this, it's fine. You can do more risque stuff. So it's and it's really good. And this is where they got the idea for doing a series a darker comedy with Muppets, and it could have been great. Like Melissa McCarthy, for all her sins, when she's she's really good in the Heat, she's really good in the Spy. If you give her good material and keep her the fuck away from her husband, she's a really good actress. So you had the Muppets, you had good writers, you had everything like this, and it ended up just this should have been better, and it just ruined the potential to open up this whole new we're going to do a darker version of Labyrinth again, because the Happy Time Murders prove that there's an audience for adult Muppet movies.
It felt kind of like they were trying too hard to be better than Avenue Q, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, it's like that as well. Just have Avenue Q, just steal a bit of their magic and just put it in yours. The concept works. It's a proven concept that this will be a good thing. You just missed the boat.
Yeah.
And I hate it, but it exists.
All right, I guess if everyone's done with their 2 cents on the Happy Time Murders, Richie's team is now complete. Jacoby, time to complete yours.
What do I want to use? I'm going to do something. What do I want to pick last? I think I'm going to make my last pick. It's a very recent movie, but I'm picking it for a few reasons. And I think one of the big reasons that I have trouble with franchises and movies, that they put the cart before the horse, right? That they make their movies with the surefire bet that they're going to make more. And I hate that. I think a movie should tell a complete story first and foremost. And that's why maybe I came into it with weird expectations, but my choice is the new Mortal Kombat movie. And I think that missed the mark, specifically. I won't go into spoilers because I know it's so new for anything like that. But the reason, it's just on a broad storytelling thing, there's no Mortal Kombat tournament. It's a Mortal Kombat movie without it's like a setup, which is weird and just not what I was expecting going into it. So I think for that reason, it missed the mark for me. And just because I was just like, oh, the movie's almost over. Where's our tournament? And then it's all set up for the next thing, which was very strange to me. So Mortal Kombat 2021.
I haven't seen it. Can I ask a question? Was it better than Mortal Kombat Annihilation?
Anything's better than Mortal Kombat Annihilation. That movie's just garbage.
I haven't seen it. So I was asking, was it better than the second?
Yeah, it was strange. I was just it was a big lead up to something. I just think that's a problem with films that leading up to something. It's just oh, okay, you're really betting on a sequel here, and you're going to leave us incomplete if we don't get it. And I think that's a big sin for movies.
Yeah, I thought it was just dumb fun. Yes, the plot is bad. The acting for the most part is bad. Although Josh Lawson kills it as Kano. But I got everything I wanted out of a Mortal Kombat movie. I thought it was just dumb fun, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be mixed reviews. Either you love it or you're just like, man.
It doesn't come out for like another 3 months over here, so I have and I'm scared to pirate movies after getting viruses.
Well, I can see that.
What was it? The Hunger Game Catching Fire broke my laptop.
Oh no!
So I already don't like that series because I love the books. I thought the first one was a bit crap. And that on top of it and cost me £500. They are absolute trash.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, Jacoby's team is full up. Joseph, over to you to complete your squad.
Okay. How to finish this? Man, there are a lot of choices I'm looking at here that I want to talk about. Man, there are a couple of different angles I could go with this next one. Maybe talk about some movies that were overlong, some that retcon previous franchise movies, some movies that go ridiculous routes. You know what? It's the final pick of the draft. Let's go with a fun pick. When I was studying for Jennifer Lawrence movies, there was one movie that I checked out, and up until the last 20 minutes, I was like, okay, this is a kind of a cheesy horror-ish thriller movie, but it was also kind of entertaining. It was kind of interesting seeing, well, maybe not that much as I went along, but it's a movie called House at the End of the Street, where it's kind of weird and confused about what it's trying to be, but it's also kind of entertaining in seeing that kind of movie. It's like Jennifer Lawrence moves into a new house, and there's a house at the end of the street where she kind of likes the boy that's there, and he actually has some dark secrets and trauma from his past and his family. And it's like, okay, this movie, it got terrible reviews. I guess people think that this movie needs more artful scares or the like from a horror thriller movie. And honestly, I didn't think it was that bad. There was some entertaining moments, some kind of creepy moments, and the vibes with the whole trauma backstory that they have for that male character in the house at the end of the street. But the last 20 minutes are complete trash because they have this ridiculous twist about one of the characters that completely gives like a problematic message about bad guys in the movie. And then I don't want to, well, should I spoil it or should I not? Well, anyway, okay, I'll just say there are times in this movie with the last 20 minutes where I was thinking this movie feels like that the filmmakers watched Sleepaway Camp and then wanted to make a spin off of that sort of without making the twist from Sleepaway Camp. And then they do a kind of twist from Sleepaway Camp that made me even more mad because they were like, you're so full of yourselves that you have to have two twists in it. And it just made me mad watching that movie. One of the worst movies I watched for trivia last year.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen this one. Anyone on the panel have seen this one?
Save your time.
Now I want to watch it.
I have not seen it.
No? Okay.
Yeah. It's got Elizabeth Shue in it, so I kind of do now want to watch it because I still love her.
Elizabeth Shue's not bad in the movie, I'll say that.
Well, homework assignment for the panel. Watch Joseph's fifth pick.
The one he told us not to watch. We all got to go watch that one.
Yep. All right. So, Joseph, your team's complete. Tony.
Okay, so I have three in my mind. One I can't do. One is bad ending, and one is a bad end. All right, I'm gonna go for the one that is it missed landing because it tries to do something and it fails at that, and it's the end of a trilogy, and just doesn't live up to the other two. So comedy in Britain is very subjective. There's a lot of opinions on like what is good and all this jazz, but there's very few arguments to the fact that the trio of Simon Pegg, Edgar Wright, and Nick Frost do great work together. However, The World's End is just a flop. As if you compare it to you got Shaun of the Dead, one of the best horror comedies of all time. You got The Hot Fuzz, which is probably the best of the three. You even have Paul, which doesn't have Edgar Wright's involvement, but it's still very good. And The World's End it doesn't, as the end of that trilogy, as their final work together, it just doesn't feel that it's up to scratch. And also,
wow.
I have issues with this film as well because I don't think it respects the subject of Gary King enough. I think that there's a lot to get into, but for me personally, I watched it before and after getting sober, and it's just like, and afterwards I was just like, this is kind of insulting actually. So it feels like a very missed landing. Like there's not that hero's arc doesn't really work after personally for me, but obviously that comes with a lot of baggage. But yeah, The World's End.
I agree with Tony that it is the weaker out of the three films. It's really hard to call it a trilogy because like each movie is so different. I don't have it on my list because even though it's the weaker film, there are moments in this film that I really enjoy. Like I love Simon Pegg's motivation for doing the World's End challenge. I actually kind of like the ending of it too.
I think that's my biggest problem with it is the actual ending itself, about how it just for everything that comes after and how it resolves, I guess, itself is my issue with the film. But I also agree that is the weaker. I like it probably more than Tony does from what he said. But I do agree that it is the weaker of the three.
It's the weaker of the three, but I still quite like it. But I like the kind of how Nick Frost is usually like the sort of the guy needs to be put in line, and then Simon Pegg plays a straight man. I like the sort of dynamic there where and I don't know, I enjoyed it. I can understand why you didn't like the ending, but I thought it was the right kind of weird. I like.
And this is the last Edgar Wright movie that's on my watch list still.
Oh. It's like it honestly probably is my least favorite of his work, but everything else he's done is great. Like I'm a massive advocate for Tintin as well, even though he wrote it. So, but the ending as well just does feel that it's just not earned. Like I think they did a poor job building Gary King up as a character. It's I think. For me personally, I think Andy is the actual true hero of that movie. And it's like, if they gave him more to do at the end, I think that could have saved this film. But it's just the emphasis on Gary King, the emphasis on pretty much it being Simon Pegg's the more known of the two of you, so he's going to be the one that's the hero.
Well, I know it's not part of the Cornetto trilogy or anything, but if I'm going with a Simon Pegg and Nick Frost movie, my money's always going to be on the movie Paul, because I happen to adore that movie.
I would say that sneaks in the Cornetto trilogy because it's like it doesn't
The two
involve
guys,
right.
yeah.
But honestly, I would say end it there. That comes out 2 years before World's End. Just end it. Those are the three Cornetto films. We forget about World's End.
That's fine with me. All right, Tony, your team is complete, which leaves us to Richard. What you got?
I was stuck on two films that both hurt the movies previous for it, but I'm choosing this particular one because I haven't seen the other one. Okay. And this movie I'm choosing is Men in Black International.
Ooh,
okay.
Yeah.
This movie made Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson unfunny. Liam Neeson's not good in this film. He's unfunny. I think it hurts Men in Black. Whatever you can say about Men in Black 2 and 3, I like those movies in my opinion. They're not as strong as the first one, but they at least make sense for its franchise. This one, the plot is ridiculous. It overuses just like the Men in Black funness that makes no sense. I think the plot is weird. And I just think overall this was a lackluster film that did not need to be made if it had no Will Smith in it or Tommy Lee Jones.
Right. No, I didn't see this one. I heard nothing but bad reviews from everyone who did actually go and see it. I don't know. Does anyone on the panel like this? Anyone? No.
I haven't seen it. I realize.
Is it weird that I've seen International, Men in Black 3, most of Men in Black 2, but not the first one?
Oh,
yeah,
man.
A little weird.
That's your homework, Joseph. Go watch Men in Black.
Yeah. Yeah. This movie's also pretty boring, I thought. Like, the movie has like this third act also that involves a twist that you could tell from just looking at the trailer and the first 5 minutes of the movie. It's disappointing how predictable it kind of is. Yeah, I like this pick for this topic.
Yeah, it's a great pick, especially because as you said, they made Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson boring. Like after you see them paired together in Thor Ragnarok, you think like, oh man, they're a great pairing. They're going to do so good together. Putting them together in a new movie is going to be is a genius idea, and then for it to just totally fall flat like that.
Yeah.
I think that really proves that Tommy Lee Jones is such a pivotal part of that movie because his gravitas gives this you kind of accept that all the aliens exist, all this stuff, because Tommy Lee Jones gives a performance that can allow you to believe that, and Will Smith also does some fantastic work. You take those two out, and it's like, the movie just doesn't
the
work.
purpose of the movie makes no sense too.
I think the best part of like Men in Black 3, one of the best parts of Men in Black 3 was Emma Thompson, and she's got nothing to do with it. She's got given nothing.
The best part about most movies is Emma Thompson. Let's be honest.
That's fair. All right. Well, that wraps up the draft. We've done it, guys. Congrats. We got to the end. Tony, we need a recap of how all the teams turned out. And while he does that, everyone in the chat, what would you guys have drafted? What did we miss? Let us know.
Okay, so Richie went first overall. His first overall pick was Signs. Then he went for Now You See Me, A Million Ways to Die in the West, Dragon Ball Revolution, and The Happy Time Murders. Jacoby second, he went with The Last Airbender, and The Dark Knight Rises, Now You See Me 2, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and 2021 Mortal Kombat. Joseph went Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Nerf, The Dead Don't Die, and House at the End of the Street. I still think you've got the most words in a. I went. I'll have to go. I think we've done ones with long titles before. I'll have to double check with them to see if you've beaten them.
Yeah. I'm glad Dr. Strangelove nailed the ending, so you didn't have to pick that.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, that definitely nails its ending.
I went next. I went with The Devil Inside, Hancock, Sound of Metal, Solo, and The World's End. Then Richard at the end, The Godfather Part 3, The Incredibles 2, Justice League, Star Trek Into Darkness, and Men in Black International.
Yes, the poll is going to be interesting, as it always is in my world. It's always intriguing to see who goes with what team, what squad is their favorite, and all that. All right, we're going to go around the horn, see what kind of honorable mention you guys want to throw out there. Throw out one or two, however many you want. Just don't go crazy about it. And give us your plugs. What have you got coming up? What social media handles can we find you at? We'll start with Richie, and then we'll go back over to and then with Tony. Richie, what got?
Okay. I mean, I obviously wanted AI. Remember Me, with the
Oh God,
that's really bad. The Dark Tower is a really bad movie.
That's a great pick.
So those three.
Yeah. And then any social media handles you want to send people towards?
Yeah, just hit, I got a like page, it's Richie Goodacre, hit up that, and also, you'll just catch me around all the fan leagues, and and catch me out on, I do wrestling trivia as well, catch me on wrestling trivia,
Cool. Richard, what you got?
Well, just before Richard goes, so when I've had Remember Me in my mind, I wanted to talk about that film all the way through, but because of the title of the show, I just was like, no, I'm not having that. I'm not having this anywhere near it. Nope. But it's the most tasteless fucking thing in the history of cinema. I hate this movie with a passion. It's a fine film, and then it just goes, we're just going to put this in because fuck you. It's abysmal, and if anyone actually likes that ending, please don't speak to me. I don't need to know it. It's just one of the most tasteless things I've seen in cinema.
Fair enough. All right, Richard, follow that little
All
diatribe.
right. I would have picked Independence Day Resurgence, but I haven't seen it.
No, don't.
I have not seen it, and I still have the first one, Terminator 3. But Genesis came out, and now I kind of like Terminator 3 more. Iron Man 3, the ending wasn't great, but Iron Man 2 was horrible. Kick-Ass 2. And my final one, Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. That was a big letdown.
That's cool. And then anything got coming up?
Facebook, Richard Schwartz. YouTube, Twitter, under External Void.
Ah, nice. All right, cool. Joseph, you're up.
So I tried to fit a couple of these movies into different categories. Movies that go way too over the top in the last couple of minutes and make random things that don't make any sense for the rest of the movie. Kingsman: The Secret Service and Finding Dory. And Superman as well. Movies that retcon the past movies. Bourne Legacy. Movies that go way over long than needed. Man of Steel. And the worst Best Picture winner, or one of the worst Best Picture winners ever. It's a 1930s musical called The Great Ziegfeld. Another one of the worst Best Picture winning musicals of all time, but because it has such an abrupt ending, An American in Paris, and one of the grossest things that I've ever seen in a franchise, and ends there with such a very disappointing way for the franchise at the time, because they thought that they were ending it there, with Alien Resurrection, the fourth movie in the Alien franchise. I'm on I'm in different league pages, the Full Metal Trivia and the Multiplex Entertainment. I'm on Facebook with Joseph Olivas, and I'm also on Letterboxd at Joseph O20.
Ah, cool. And then Jacoby, what do you got to plug? Honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions. The ones that I want to pick. Let's see. Mummy: Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, because the first two are masterpieces, obviously. So that was a big miss the mark for how it comes on. But yeah, the actual more legitimate one I would say is Glass, and I debated whether or not to put Glass on here, because it's one of those things where I was really disappointed in the ending. But when Unbreakable came out all those years ago, we thought that ending, it didn't fit back then. So I'm really excited to see, like, in 10 to 15 years from now, if I go back and watch Glass, if it's actually going to be like this. Like it's like, oh, it's actually a really great ending. So that's one I'm always like torn about. And I also actually Independence Day Resurgence. You mentioned that one, Richard. I agree with that, because for them to have the balls to so blatantly end on a sequel setup when their movie is such trash is just phenomenal. Same with Predator. The Predator does literally the same exact thing from the same studio of promising a space battle for a future movie, for a movie that flops, which tells me that they had a space set, like all set somewhere that they wanted to use for some movie and they didn't know what to use it for. So there's a space set on the Fox lot somewhere that they want. So yeah, those ones. And then I'm on Twitter at Bancroft 815.
And check out his match against Jacob London if you haven't watched it yet.
Oh yeah, do that.
And also Blanchett versus Deception next week.
Oh yeah, I gotta do that now. Yeah, watch that match. May 6th, it's going down. Yeah, watch that. So
speaking of that person, Digesting Cinema with his opponent next week, Adam Collins, who they're doing documentaries for a documentary I'm not even going to try and pronounce. It's some weird one about nature. It sounds interesting. Christina's going to hate it.
Are there coyotes in it?
It might be, but it'll be an interesting conversation. If Aaron's still in the chat, he'll probably be able to give the link, the name of the movie.
Yeah, and then Tony, what's coming up on the channel? What?
Yep. So just quickly, I got my Remember Me rant out, so I'm very happy with that. But my biggest honorable mention, just because it's a good musical up until the final 30 seconds, where they just go, let's just ruin this by making a car fly.
Oh no! Yeah. Okay.
Just unless the fan theory that Sandy's dying in that movie is actually made canon, that ending is just shit and just baffles.
It's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, but for the channel, so on these days in movie history, they're starting to not be one today just because I was busy, but they should be every day. So the quick 30-40 seconds of what came out this day. We mentioned Digest Cinema, podcast feeds, feature presentation movie trivia that returns. So what it was formerly the FPTL that returns this Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. GMT. So it's a more game showy format, so it's a ton of fun. We've been testing it out quite a bit, so hopefully you guys like it. And One Got to Stay with Rue is now on Uru, back on Uru Reviews. Go watch that. They did Nicolas Cage, Nicolas Cage, Bruce
Nicolas
Willis.
Cage, Woody Harrelson, and Michael Keaton.
That
I
was
was
it.
on that one.
You were. Good episode. It's on the channel as well, but the reviews, go find it there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the channel. Please like, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching.
Yeah, so for Tony, myself, Jacoby, Jacob, Richard, and Richie, have a good week, guys. We'll see you next week when we draft iconically 80s movies. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and please don't forget to vote.
That was awesome.
I thought it reeked.
Who's winning?
Let's see you win.
You're gonna win.
Nothing personal. It's really gonna matter.
Tune in next week.
You see what happens?
Brand new.
Episode?
Fantasy film fight.
Doesn't matter who wins, because they're all losers.